Hello again. I'm Deb, the Traveling Stocking Stitcher, and this is part 2 of Angels, Fancy Ladies with Wings. On my previous episode, I showed you a variety of different angel patterns and designs, things that I've stitched, some charts, and I decided to do a second episode because I had so much stuff. And this one I'm going to focus primarily on the Serendipity Designs, the Mar-Bek series of angels by Rebecca Waldrop. And I've done some of them. I've got a lot of the patterns, so I'll show you that. I've also got a lot of other things to show you as well, not just angel stuff. I've got some finishes, I've got some whips, I've got Chatelaine that I've been working on, I've got the Scrooge stocking that I adapted from the primitive Hare, and some other things that we'll take a look at. So let's get started. Now, my previous episode I didn't have any props or anything because I said I'm no angel, and then 2 days later, literally 2 days later, we went to a garage sale and I saw these wings, so I couldn't resist. However, I don't think they're going to make it through the entire episode because I'm uncomfortable in them. One moment, please. Alright, I have come back down to earth and we're ready to talk about some angels. Let's talk about the Serendipity designed angels. They're called the Mar-Bek collection of angels, and there's 3 designed by Rebecca Waldrop that are done as angels. So this is Canticle Angel. I've had this one for years and years and years. They are available, Serendipity Designs website, even though these are from the early 90s. And even, they look a little bit dated, but no more so, I think, than lavender and lace kinds of things. I think they've got kind of a charm to them. But they also have a Serendipity Angel that they've got. And they have the Herald Angel. Now, I wasn't crazy about how this toe kind of dropped down, and I wanted it to be a little more flat-footed like all my other stockings, so I did a little bit of adjusting on that. They also showed that you wouldn't have to do them as stockings. You could do them here. They've got them listed or done as a triptych, and there they are. These 2 are done earlier, oddly enough, and this one was done later. And can you see the problem? Where she is like an NBA player. She's like much taller than the other 2. So when I decided to do this, I said, first of all, they're going to be big anyway. They're large for the size that they are. And so I did her, I had to size them differently. I did her on 16 count, I did these 2 on 14 count, and now they're proportionally, they're actually the same exact size on the outline that I cut. Yeah, you would probably do want to, if you're going to do them together like I did, you probably want to adjust down. So I found, I almost wish I would have done it on 18 count, but I couldn't find the color green that I liked in an 18 count. So this is what I ended up getting. These were, this one is from my Vintage NeedleArts, Etsy. It's a hand-dyed green fabric. It was interesting because it has almost kind of a, I don't know how I describe it. I don't know if you can see that or not. It has almost like a plasticky kind of a background. It wasn't bad to stitch on. It was okay. It gives it a little more heft. But yeah, it's almost a, because of that, it's not the fabric is so hard itself, but the backing, it's got kind of this plasticky dipped thing. I don't know what it is, but it was fine. So here she is. Here's Faith. I called them Faith, Hope, and Charity. And so this is my first one. And you'll notice on each of these, they have different, on the pattern, they had, this one's got some square motif kind of thing, and that's what they used on all of these together on one sheet, on the black. And I got the idea I wanted them all to look the same, to have the same motif. So I chose one of the motifs, and I used the cross motifs from Serendipity on all of them, so they all would kind of look uniform. And then this one has fleur-de-lis, and I will use that in some other incarnation where I want to have some background to fill up the area. But so here she is. The lettering, because they are already so big, I kind of had to put the name off to the side. So I tried to go with an illuminated manuscript kind of a look. This one doesn't show up real well. You can't really see the name on the fabric too well. The other ones will look a little bit better. There she is. Face maybe, hair maybe looks a little dated. I remember reading a review about Dr. Zhivago, and somebody said, you know, you can tell that Dr. Zhivago was made in the 1960s because the hair, all the women's hair, looks like 1960s hair. Now I can't see that movie. Of course, she's got a big fur hat on most of the time anyway, so it's really not that annoying. But besides that, here she is. We've got a whole lot of Kreinik going on there. Mostly blending filament. We've got some, I think this is Japanese #1 gold stuff there for the strings on the instruments. How pretty she is. So much shiny, so much bling. So that's Faith. Next up we have Hope. This one's probably the shiniest of all of them, and here the name shows up a little bit better. I charted that up and kind of used different colors in there. And then this around here, I'd not used this before, the halo, oops, right around, oops, halo around here, is 1/16 inch gold ribbon, and you kind of couch it down. It's really kind of a cool effect. Makes a nice halo. And this had lots and lots and lots of Kreinik in it. Look at just how much shiny that is. And I think it was this aqua here that it was less coverage than anything else. So I had to stitch over that twice, not once but twice. But it just looked too thin. So I just stitched it once, then I stitched it all over again. And there are no beads on this thing, I don't think, are there? No. No, just all Kreinik. Very pretty. Now I have a tip. I'm going to insert in here a little tutorial tip that I came up with for dealing with blending, because I won't, when I use Kreinik, I use the loop method, because when I first started working with Kreinik, I was trying to, you know, kind of start it and then capture the little threads underneath to anchor it down to start your thread, and it was horrible. Thank goodness for Flosstube that taught me the loop method, and you know, I will never use a single strand of Kreinik. Never. I will only use the loop method. And you know, you think, well, it only calls for one strand of Kreinik. Too much bling? Is there such a thing? I don't think so. So I am going to use the loop method, and I will show you. I'll insert a little thing in here that shows you if you want, if they recommend using a strand of DMC with a strand of blending filament. I've got a suggestion for how to do that, and I'll include that in here. All right, and then finally we have Charity. Her name probably shows up the best there, just because of the gold on the blue. And in her hair, she's got, I think, number 8 braid, like peacock color. So these are a little bit bigger. They're not beads so much as they're just little nubbier looking things. So she's got a lot of pretty colors. And again, no beads, just all Kreinik. I think these all have very pretty faces, and I like the colors on them. So those are my Mar-Bek angels. Alright, so getting started here, if I have a situation where I need to blend DMC with Kreinik, typically it's going to call for a strand of each. I will do a single strand of DMC and 2 strands of Kreinik, so I can use the loop method with the Kreinik. It's just much easier to handle. I don't find that it's overly bulky or anything, and really if you're looking for shiny stuff, the more the better in my book. So I've just cut a piece. You don't want to use too long pieces. It's a little hard to tell here, but this is about you know, the thing next to it is about a 7-inch strand, I would say, of DMC. And then I'm just going to take some Kreinik, and I'm going to do twice the length because, again, I'm using the loop method, so I'm going to double it over. So I'll measure it out against the DMC. Got twice as much here. I'll make a little cut. And now I'm going to put the Kreinik aside. I'm going to pick my DMC up. I'm going to start out, thread my needle with the DMC with a single strand, and I'll go in and make my first stitch. And going down to make my first leg, like I would normally do. I'm stitching with a single strand, nothing different here. And then I'll start in the next hole over, just to secure it, and I'll go over on the back. And I'll make sure that that's tucked under. So that's secured. Nothing new there that you haven't seen before. And I'll take my thread off, my DMC thread off the needle. I'll go back and get my Kreinik, double it up, put the loop through the needle eye, and make sure the lengths are about the same length on the ends so that when you're pulling it through those don't get stuck. And you want to have more of your looped end than your non-looped end. You see how futzy this is. It always wants to curl around on you. So in this case, instead of going up from underneath, I'm going to start at the top of that stitch where I put the DMC. And then I'm going to come up. I'm not going to go all the way through, but I'm going to come up from the bottom and leave a little bit of that out. And this is just your regular loop stitch. If you're not familiar with this, you should get familiar with it because it's fabulous whenever you do 2 strands of floss. So I'm now at the bottom, and I just want to go back through the top that I started in. And I have my first stitch, pull it through so it looks flat. So now I've got the DMC underneath, and I've got the 2 strands of Kreinik on the top. I come back up the hole where the DMC is coming up for the first time, or this last time that I did it. And now, so I don't have to rethread the Kreinik, I'm going to just kind of move those out of the way. I'm going to take my DMC and just thread that onto the needle, so I've got all 3 things on my needle. Easier said than done. There it is, pull it through. So there we go, I've got 3 strands, and now I just keep stitching. So I'll go back up to the top, go through with all 3, pull them all through. No wonder. So just regular stitching. Now occasionally, I don't see it happening quite yet, but there is a little polyester, I almost call it the spine of the Kreinik, and it's really the backbone that kind of holds it together. So I don't get too worried about the fact if I get some of that kind of loose, because once I finish up doing a bunch of my X's here, it's going to be secured enough. If you've tried to ever unravel Kreinik, good luck to you. So I don't think there's a real risk if you get some loose spines, that filament that is in there, the polyester filament. Sometimes it's clear, sometimes it's black, depending on the color you're working with. I would just, once you get all your stitches in there, if it bothers you, just kind of trim it off, and I haven't any problems with that. So that's kind of how I would recommend that you do your Kreinik with your blends. If you're just using 2 strands of Kreinik, you know, even if it calls for 1, I would just use 2 and use a loop method. One other tip for working with Kreinik is that I got from Judy. She's a city stitcher, and in my last video I was thanking her because she had shouted me out before I got a chance to shout her out. So I am going to shout her out again, and I mentioned that I was going to do this again because on her videos she has done the Nativity that's done by Serendipity Designs, also by the same designer, Rebecca Waldrop, and it's beautiful. It's I don't know what you'd call it. It's not a triptych, it's like an octatrip or something. Here is an example of what that Nativity looks like. we've got, here we are, we have a camel on one side, we've got a shepherd, I think on the far side there. We've got some shepherds with angels, we've got some wise men with angels, we've got the centerpiece there with 2 angels and a star and Mary and Joseph and doggies and everything. And this specialty frame that apparently is very difficult to find. So go check out City Stitcher and see, she even found this frame, which is just stunning. So very beautiful. She has it in episode number 71. She's got the finished version, but she has a number of episodes where she shows it because it had to be massive and take a really long time to stitch because it's huge. But she had it all framed up, so episode 71 is the one you're looking for, but go check her other ones out too, because she's fun to watch. And she suggested a tip for working with Kreinik that I had not thought of. It's to use a bigger needle so that the hole is making its way, making it bigger so you don't have as much fraying with the Kreinik, because when you're pulling in and out of the holes, that's going to cause that to shred up, so you have to work with shorter lengths, but using a bigger needle, great tip. So thanks Judy for that advice. They also have a series of angels that I'll show you the kind of the designs. And first up, I talked in my last video about this. I was going to start Garden Angel for myself because I have a stocking that is a duplicate of one that I've done for something else that I have in the house. So I need my own angel. So I like blue, like Garden Angel. I found this fabric that I want to do it on. And again, she's not designed to be a stocking, but the flow of the dress, I think, accommodates that. So here's what I have. Here it is in my Q-snap. I've got half a Q-snap undone for you. So this one, Kreinik doesn't seem to be the problem so much as the massive sea of blue in her dress. So I've sort of had to make a little promise with myself that if you do a little blue, I'll let you do a little Kreinik. Who knew Kreinik could be an incentive? So there we are. I have to switch off just to keep myself going on that. And what I do when I am doing a stocking on something that's not designed to be a stocking, you can not really see it real well, but I have basted in here the outline of the stocking where it's going to land. And the reason I work from bottom up is because I want to make sure that when I start this thing, I'm going to have enough material down here to do the instep of the stocking. And so I've got everything kind of fitting within the perimeter of where things are going to go, so this kind of is coming around the curve nicely, and then I'll work my way upward. So that's why I'm working bottom to top. Yeah, I think that's all I have to tell you about that one. Another one, I couldn't decide quite on between the two of these. There's, I think some of the angels that they have in the Serendipity Designs go well together. There's Regency Angel that I also really liked, and I thought she was pretty. I think I probably would have changed the colors to make her more Christmassy, make it maybe a bright red dress. The cape, the green cape probably looks okay, but I think these two would go really well together. They're about the same dimension size-wise, so if you didn't want to do them as stockings and you wanted to do them to hang on your wall, that's what I would suggest. So then, next thing we want to look at are, I've got some patterns of things that I have done. I have one whip of these that I intended to do as a stocking, and I never got very far on it. So here is Kirov Angel, and I thought she was very pretty. I liked her face. I liked the blue in the dress, and so it didn't take real long to stitch up. Here she is, and I don't know, I just stalled out on her for a couple of different reasons. First of all, I chose to do her on ivory, and you may think white is boring, but I think white and black both pop. Things pop off the thing. When you do things on ivory or beige or antique white or mushroom or neutrals, for some reason they look ho-hum to me. And I think that might be part of the problem. And then, and part of it, you can't even see some of this. Here's this edging on her dress, and I can't even make that out there. I don't think that there's an outline or a backstitching that goes around there that would help. I was even thinking, is there any way to dye it? These people that tea dye things after they've already stitched them. I don't have words for that. It scares me. But anyway, the other issue that I had when I was doing her is this blue in her dress. Before I had the gold things on there, it was just blue, and then these spots, these are going to be, I think these are beads, the open spots here. Pretty sure they're beads. That or it's a different color of Kreinik. But when I was stitching her, and then the red on the hemline of the dress, all I could think of was Betsy Ross. And I know that they do some patriotic angel stuff, but it's Betsy Ross. She's not an angel, she's Betsy Ross. But I do like this lacy effect in the cape, or the whatever it is. I thought that was a really cool effect of the mixture of the Kreinik in there with the Acro or 712, I think it is. And the other issue I have, if I had to do it all over again, is that wing. You see, with this is, you can tell where I stopped, because I put that yellow in the wing, and that's the point where she went from being an angel to being a moth. And so it's too much to pick out at this point, but I thought everything was going so well, it looked so good, that wing, with just the gold and the silver and the what is it, pearl, 32 Kreinik. And then after I added the star 091, I think it is, I just stopped. I don't know. So those are the ones that I've actually done some stitching on. And then I've got a lot of the patterns. I was all gung-ho at one point, and after I did the 3 stockings, I thought, here we go, we're going to do these. So I bought a bunch of them. And so when I kind of went through these, they've got a whole set. I don't know if this is all of them or not, but it's most of them. So these are a whole bunch of them. There's 1 or 2 I think that I don't have here as well. I don't have Renaissance Angel, so I can't show you that one. Or no, Byzantine Angel, I'm sorry. That one I don't have. And there's a couple more that I'll input if I don't have them. But they all kind of have different shapes and sizes, so I kind of went through and looked at all of the dimensions of them and kind of said, okay, which things go together. So if I were going to, because I was thinking about, I didn't have enough angel names if I was going to do them all as a stocking. So I thought, well, maybe I could do like names of carols. So I could do Hark, the Herald Angels Sing, and do a set of 4 of them. Or, you know, In Excelsis Deo, stuff like that, you know. Angels we have heard on high, could be another series. So kind of like the idea of actually having real names, so that's why I haven't really followed through on this thing. But anyway, the next set of things is, and this is probably my next favorite one that I would work on next, this is Arcadian Angel. Love the blue, very pretty. Now she's dipping her toes in the pond, so she's not going to make a great Christmas stocking unless I turn that into ice. Put some skates on her feet. I don't know. Have to get creative. But if you want to see this done, and you do want to see this one done, actually it's a whip, but you want to go over and check out RogueMamaStitcher. And this is Amber, and I meant to use her as my seal of approval. I was saving her for this particular episode because she has a couple of different episodes. She's got several in Flosstube number 2 and Flosstube number 7. She's got some of the Mar-Bek angels that she's done. I know she's done at least one. I think she's done the this one here. I forget, Canticle Angel? Yeah, I think she's done Canticle Angel for a relative. So she's got that on her channel. Last episode 22 was her Flossiversary, her first year, so congratulations, Amber, on that. But she gave me this very, very lovely shout out. So, like I said, she does a bunch of stockings, so she and I probably are in a competition to do the most stockings on Flosstube. So check her out. She's got some really gorgeous things that she's done for her family over the years. And she just is so very kind to give me a shout out. We've got Victorian Angel. So this one's 1986, you can see. These are, you know, a little older kinds of designs, but I like the lantern. There she is. And then we have Bethany Angel. This one kind of looks like a, was it Alphonse Mucha, the Czech painter, artist. That's what that reminds me of. But again, lots of pretty Kreinik and blue colors, which I enjoy. And I'm thinking a lot of these could be done in a stocking. So a lot of them have that kind of a flow to the dress where you could angle it off to the side. And part of the issue, when I did this one, I decided to go with the printed fabric because I didn't want to have to put something on the toe. And this kind of relieves that problem for me. I don't have to worry about, designing some extra thing on the toe. If it doesn't reach all the way over there, it's got some design in the background, and it'll cover that stuff as well. So another one that goes similar with that is Brittany Angel. And I think these are beautiful colors. I kind of like the Celtic looking design at the bottom of the dress. So those kind of all size-wise fit similarly. Then we've got another batch. This one's called Windermere Angel, and she's got kind of a spring vibe going there. And then, I should do more of this, I think. Snow Angel. They both got the tree there, and it's got the woodland creatures. I think that one's pretty. I think this one would make a nice stocking, although it doesn't quite have the same. You could figure out a flow. We could put the bunny on the toe. That would work. I maybe would lose the tree. Hard to say. But those two I think go well together. Woodland Angel also kind of goes with that one as well because she's got a fall look going on there. The leaves on the floor or on the ground. I don't know. This is spring, winter, and fall. I don't know that there's a summer one. Maybe Arcadian Angel's meant to go with that one. Arcadian Angel, it's got the same kind of cutout on the top, so maybe those are supposed to go together. Next one, grouping of things, would be Seaside Angel. This one's a bit different. I think she's really kind of pretty. I like the purples. But she, again, doesn't look terribly Christmassy. And then we have Forest Angel. I think this one's a fairly big one, but I really like the little squirrels and rabbits and whatnot gathering around the tree. Another pair that I think go well together are Elizabethan Angel, and because of the shape of her dress, good candidate for stocking, I think. And then Starlight Angel. Whether I don't know if you could fit it on a stocking, if the window would have to go, or the kid would have to go, or I don't know. I'd have to think about that one a little bit. But it's pretty if you just wanted to do it as a thing. And then we've got a series of kind of the smaller ones. These are not necessarily all my favorites, but we've got Florentine Angel. And there she is. She looks kind of surprised. I don't know. The expression on some of these, I think because they're so small, it's hard to really come up with the picture. This one is Tudor Angel. She's reading off a scroll or something there. This is Tapestry Angel. And this one, her face looks a little like the Edouard Munch Scream thing. So, it's the only one that I really have issues with the face. Coventry Angel. It's another one with a face, not really well defined. Those are smaller. I think it's real hard to get the features real distinct, but it's a little bit lower on my list maybe of priorities. And then we've got a few others, and these are wide, I think is why I've got them separated out like this. So this is Renaissance Angel. Don't think this would work real well with a stocking because of the wingspan on her. And Baroque Angel, same thing going on there, just very wide. And I think these again are smaller in size. And then this is the Angel's Prayer, where you've got angel praying and then other angel standing over her. So those are my angels from Serendipity Designs. Now let's switch gears, put the angels aside, and I want to show you a finish that I have. I was working on this. This was a whip on my last episode, and the Christmas Carol sampler. This is Tiny Timmy and Scrooge sampler. The Primitive Hare Christmas Carol sampler 2012. And I saw this and just immediately needed to do it. Just had to do it, and I had to do it as a stocking, and I knew exactly, just in my head, instantly what it was going to look like. So here is the finished stocking. There it is. So one of the benefits of being the Traveling Stocking Stitcher is I have access to a whole lot of fonts. Every pattern that has a stocking on it has a name on it. So what I did is, when I digitized during the downtime during the pandemic, I went through and scanned or took photos of all my patterns, and if they had an alphabet on it for using lettering, I took a separate scan of that, and so it saves them into Google Photos. I take the item from Google Photos and put it in an album marked cross-stitch lettering. So anytime I'm looking for a font, open up that album, take a look, find something I like. And so this is where I found a lot of my letters. So if you look at the chart, I did, the Ebenezer Scrooge, totally different. I mean, I chose the font for that. And then I put a little holly berries on the corners based on, there's a holly berry on the horse over here, right there. And so I did that. The Bah Humbug, I also picked out lettering on the chart. It was God Bless Us Everyone, but this was Scrooge. And the London 1843 I did as charted. I turned the little birds into, instead of being black ravens or crows, I made them into little cheery cardinals. And the yellow pretty much did everything as charted. There was a gold in the pattern for like the border and stuff that I did not use because I knew I wasn't going to have room for the border. So I had some sulky, I think it was 712, some sulky cotton petites sitting around, and I think that does a nice gaslight effect on the lantern. So I just moved the lantern over a little bit and did the little town. I fleshed out the building a little bit on the corner instead of having it come straight down. I just, luckily it was mirror image on the door and had a little more room for that. And I put a little base on the bottom of the lamppost and ran that up the side there. So you can see it's kind of similar, but I put my own little twist on it. And then I just scattered some of the snowflakes around randomly. So I'm very happy with this. It turns out a little bit wider. It looks a little bit more like a boot. But I also discovered in a little research that we call them Christmas stockings, but in other parts of the country, or other parts of the world, they call them Christmas boots, or, they put shoes out for stocking. I think in the UK they call them boots. If I'm wrong, let me know in the comments, but, that's what I'm calling it. It's a Christmas boot. My needle, my rules. What I wanted to work on next kind of took a little bit of a turn. A week ago Sunday, my mom took a fall and ended up being taken into the emergency room with paramedics, and we went over her house, called 911. Paramedics went to take her to the hospital. I dropped my husband off and I quick grabbed something because I wasn't sure how long I was going to be sitting around the emergency room for, so I just grabbed the first thing I could find. And this was already on a scroll frame. It was the Michael Powell. I did an episode on Michael Powell, and this one I had started but not finished. It's a freebie of Spanish church, and all I had to do was fill in the white. So all I needed was this scroll frame that already had it on there. Give me a B5200, and I was good to go. Luckily, I was there long enough to be able to do the fill, and I didn't run out of anything else. I still need to do. The chart was a freebie and didn't have background, so I'm going to fill in some background stuff on that one. So I wasn't able to do the outline or anything of the back stitching on it. But so that's kind of what I was working on that. That got me through that evening. But then when I came home that night, I still wasn't sure if she was going to end up having surgery or not. So it highlighted to me that I need a stitch and go bag. And I didn't have that ready. I don't do a lot of smalls, so I started thinking, well, what can I use that's portable, that I can pick up and go, that I have just ready to go that maybe I'm not going to be working on a regular basis, but I need to have something available. So first thing that popped into my mind is I did show you in my last video that I got my Chatelaines. I ordered 3 Chatelaines for their Black Friday, November of last year. So I wanted to start small, and I have the Mini Mystery 03 Chatelaine. It looks like this. And so I started pulling things together and kitting that up. And got almost all the way kitted up. Actually, I had it all kitted up. Then I thought, you know, this might be not be the best thing. I shouldn't be taking this out of the house. For one thing, you know, it's got all the fancy stuff that is not color fast, so you can't wash it. So if you get it all grimed up, dragging it around who knows where, you're just going to be miserable because you just ruined a chatelaine with stuff. So okay, that idea wasn't going to work. But then I had the chatelaine kitted up, and then Chatelaine Wednesday came along that Kitschy Whips and Fiber Arts Amy hashtag Chatelaine Wednesday, and so I thought, why not? So I started doing this, and it only took a week. This is only about, I think it's 6.5 or just shy of 7 inches, and I'm doing it just on white Aida because it's white Aida. There are no fractional stitches. This one, if you're afraid of chatelaines, and I heard from a number of people that have chatelaines, myself included. I was anxious about starting a chatelaine, and people that were intimidated by them. I was even going to start a support group. I thought, let's start chicken. I was going to start a support group called The Cowardly Hesitancy Involving Chatelaine Kits Ends Now, or Chicken. So we'll have this hashtag or support group that people can rally behind. But turns out I was sitting there on a Wednesday, I was looking at Instagram, Licking Floss said that she had just decided to start her first one, and I thought, no time like the present, I got it ready to go. So I started stitching it. So this really only took about a week to do. There's only about 13 colors in it. 3 of them are silks. One of them is Petite Treasure Braid that you master Kreinik. Don't worry about Petite Treasure Braid. And then beads. I'm not worried about beads. I've done beads before. But I've got all the stitching done. I just need to give it a good press, and then I'm going to do the beads. Here it is in all its glory. Isn't that pretty? Very lovely. It's got little towns that go around there. As far as specialty stitch goes, it has a few little Algerian eyelets. There's a couple here in the corner. You can't really see them that well even. And there's a couple right on each corner right here. There's 3 right there. And then we've got road stitches around the perimeter up here, and then all around this perimeter. And they're really an easy stitch to do. If you're afraid of those are the only real stitches. The hardest part of this was these things, because they were not on the in the hole. It was kind of in the middle of the thing. So that was the only thing that was a little tricky to do. But everything else, piece of cake. So just got to bead that up and I'm good to go. So I'm very proud of myself. Now I can tackle other things, because I do want, once you get started on these things, you don't want to stop. You just want to keep going. Alright, so while I was thinking about a go bag, what did I kit up? I kitted up another thing. I looked through, I had talked about AwesomePatternStudio, and they did a lot of cities. They have 600 plus cities, and I talked about them being on Etsy. But I've since discovered that if you go directly to their website, in addition to freeing them from the oppression of the charges that they have to pay for Etsy, you can also, they have a lot more variety, a lot more choices, more cities on their website. So I found a few more on there. So I recommend you check them out. That brings to mind the fact that I have another thank you. I got a shout out from Smoky Mountain Stitchers, and it's Callie and Linda, and they're a couple of sisters, and they have they're just a riot to watch. They laugh and they have energy and they play off each other a lot, and they were kind enough to mention me in their video, so I appreciate that. And so check them out. Anybody that gives me a shout out, I always include at the end of my video. There's a click here for a playlist. And anybody that shouted me out, I want to return the favor, and I want you to go watch them because they're fantastic. They're fun to watch. So they also picked up some of those cities, the AwesomePatternStudio cities. So that's as well. So this one I started, this is going to be my Go project now. So you may not see a lot of movement on it, hopefully, because they decided they did not need to do surgery on Mom's face. So that's good to know. They're still kind of evaluating it, but at this point it looks like they don't have to. But this one is, when I looked through the colors, this one stuck out to me because of the bright, cheerful, tropical Caribbean colors. So this is all I've got so far. I stitched a little bit on it because, you kit something up, you want to practice and get going on it. This one is San Juan, Puerto Rico. I went there probably maybe 10, 12 years ago for work, and was able to tack on a few extra days to kind of see the sights, and loved it. I knew very little about Puerto Rico, and just I thought it was absolutely beautiful there. So this is going to be my San Juan. One other angel topic before we get too far away from the angels is I mentioned in my last video the Teresa Kogut series of angels, and I asked you guys for some help, and I got some help, so I really appreciate that. So I had an idea from Rhubarb Patch Stitcher, Leah Noel. She suggested doing them as a bunting, because they're not all the same size and they're not all the same shape, but a bunting kind of thing where you could do them as maybe what's the word I'm looking for? Pendant, and not pendant. Pennant, like a pendant kind of thing, something like that. And who else? I heard from Stitch Odyssey. She suggested stretching them over a canvas or a styrofoam, like a painting. That's a great idea. I like that as well. Mrs. Bobbinlacer suggested flat folds. She uses her piano as a display area at Christmas time, and she also thought maybe a bell pull for the long, thin angels might be a good one. And then I had a couple of ideas. You guys spurred the ideas in me. I saw, I'm not going to remember who it was, but somebody was doing drums. You know how they put things around kind of like a cylinder kind of thing? That might work. So I had that thought. And then I was going through and digging through fabric to back my stocking for Scrooge, and I came across this table runner that I have that I picked up somewhere. And I thought this might actually be interesting to kind of affix them on here, possibly. Because there's 3 of them that have red, there's 3 of them that are square, a couple of them are rectangular, and the 3 that are square also have red in either their dresses or their, something about them all has similar red. And so I thought, oh, maybe I can put those 3 together and that would work. So this is the one, I did a 1, 2, 3 stitch order. We all know things can't travel alone. This time they had to travel with a guardian angel. So this is the one I have. Oh my soul. And I think, yeah, the background here is just beautiful, and here and her eyes look so full of expression, and I think this one's pretty. A couple of other thank yous I want to do. Renee, the Appalachian Stitcher, has also shouted me out, and she has some really cool 12 Days of Christmas, does a lot of Christmas stuff. She's done ornaments that are on sleds, things like that. So she's a lot of fun to watch too. Very, very upbeat and entertaining, and full of enthusiasm. So check Renee out. And then I've got a new Flosstuber I want to mention for you. She started watching my videos last week and kind of went through them one by one and commented on each one, and we started chatting and looking at each other's Instagram and talking back and forth on different stuff, and got to know each other a little bit. And then she mentioned that she had been thinking about doing a floss tube. I said, oh, you got to do it, because she was kind of concerned, the same as I had, of well, am I going to have enough stuff to show, and what's what to do. And I said, give it a try. Well, she did. She went out and she started her first floss tube. So she just put her last one up, I think, like 2 days ago. And so her name is Stitchy Wendy, And so please be sure to give her a watch. She's got some good tips on something I didn't know about, some spray stuff that you can put on to keep things, help you iron out all the wrinkles. A gift that I do not have, so I need all the help I can get. So, and she's got some beautiful things. She's done some lavender and lace. She's done some travel, not travel, I wouldn't call it travel, but places that she's been. She's got like Victoria samplers that are from Alaska and different areas that she's lived in. So really beautiful stuff. So give Stitchy Wendy a try. She's great. She's gonna be a shoe. She's great. You're gonna love her. So thank you so much for joining me again. Looking forward to seeing you again next time. And I'm so glad you're here. And we will talk to you later. Bye-bye.